even the experts found their way off the beaten track at Brisbane's Lakeside Raceway. Local legend Tony Longhurst prevailed in the brilliant B&H Bimmer, but even he's a little shell-shocked after paying out $5,000 just for giving John Bowe a helping hand. Pit paranoia continues this weekend. Nissans topped the scales 100 kilos heavier after winning at Winton. Sierras are up 50, while BMW and Holden remain the same. On the series leaderboard, Mark Scaife holds a 15-point break over Gentleman Jim, with Seaton, Gibbs, Johnson and Brock next in line. 7 Sport welcomes you to Lakeside and round 5 of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship. Proudly brought to you in part by Shell. Go well, and by Synovus Vitamins. Hello Australia, I'm Mike Raymond. Welcome to Lakeside Raceway in Brisbane and of course round 5 of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship. Well, the weekend started rather well for Dick Johnson. After a week of practice here at Lakeside, he was fast qualifier when we left the circuit yesterday. Unfortunately, the Peter Jackson dash that sees drivers draw for starting positions took Dick Johnson back to position number 5 this morning. Now, Alan Moffat, that's something he hasn't been able to recover from.
No, he hasn't, but fortunately John Bowe, his teammate, has secured pole, and let's hope a little bit of good luck for him.
Holden very well represented at Lakeside today. Peter Brock is here. Thomas Mazera, who got away this morning in the Peter Jackson dash. Got away, that's correct. Got away on the grass and finished last. He'll do it fairly tough today out of position number 6. Well, Dickie Johnson with some problems, John Bowe with a few smiles. And it's a welcome back to our motorsport team, to our old buddy Gary Wilkinson, who's with the loser and the winner.
Thank you, Mike Raymond. Great to be on the team again. Well, John Bowe, after Winton, you're obviously very determined to show everyone a clean pair of heels.
Well, I was lucky I drew number 2 in the Peter Jackson dash, and luckily I finished first in that, so I started on the front row. I feel really sorry for Dick, though, because he was the quickest man in the circuit yesterday, and now he's in 5th, so that's unfortunately the way it goes.
Good luck, John. Let's find out how the top banana feels about things.
Well, it's just the luck of the draw, Gary. That's the way it goes. You know, we call it the track lotto, actually. You draw for positions on the 3-lap heat, and basically 3 laps is not an awful lot to be able to do anything with, so we just got to put up with it.
But your number 1 man here is in the top slot.
Oh, he's doing a great job.
OK, let's see how the Shell team go in today's first heat, round 5, the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship. We check the grid with Mike Raymond.
Thank you, Gary Wilkinson. From pole position, John Bowe in the Shell Sierra with a 52.97 yesterday. Colin Bond starts on the outside of the front row in the Caltech Sierra. On the inside of row 2, Tony Longhurst in the B&H BMW. Larry Perkins starts out of position number 4 in car number 11. Dick Johnson out of 5 in car number 17. From position 6, it's Thomas Mazera in the Commodore. From 7, Glenn Seaton, the Peter Jackson Sierra. From 8, Alan Jones, the second of the B&H cars. From 9.05, Peter Brock in the Mobile Commodore. And rounding out the 10, a long way back, Mark Scaife in the Winfield Nissan GTR. And I can't recall a race in the past couple of years where the Nissans have started so far back. Mark Oastler, our man in the pits today. Mark, Freddie Gibson not too happy about the 100 kilo additional weight.
He's certainly not happy about it, Michael, and it's been a long time, as you say, since we've seen the Nissans out of the top 10. I think the accusations and the criticisms about Nissans sandbagging has really reached boiling point this weekend at Lakeside.
OK, Mark, we'll follow that and you'll bring us all the action from the pits. There's our pole sitter by virtue of winning the Peter Jackson dash this morning. It's John Bowe and Colin Bond starting on the outside of the front row. That's a good qualifying effort and finishing effort this morning by Colin Bond. We're 10 seconds away from heat number 1, round 5 of the Shell Touring Car Nationals from lovely Lakeside. Off the line goes Bowe. See ya! Perkins down the outside. Longhurst goes after him. Mazera tries to fight down the inside, as you'll see here. Mazera in amongst a whole wall of cars, and there's one going out. Mark Gibson, the GIO Commodore. They parked the Nissan this weekend and elected to run with the Commodore. He'll need to get back on the track and in a hurry. Out of the carousel. Looks like Pitt Street Friday afternoon around 5 p.m. But it's Bowe in front. Moving up very quickly into the second spot was Larry Perkins, who got a brilliant start, Alan Moffat.
Yes, he did, mate, and Colin Bond absolutely stood on the start line. John Bowe got an immaculate start. Absolutely one of the best starts I've ever seen John take off the front row. But certainly Larry Perkins shot from the 3rd row of the grid up into second spot, and is going to be very hard to get by from Tony Longhurst.
over the hill and down the other side. Here they come to rip off the first lap, and Wilco, it looks like the Dick Johnson team looking pretty sharp here.
Certainly are, Mike, and it was, as Alan said, terrible start by Colin Bond. He was absolutely swamped by Larry Perkins and by Peter Brock, who made a great start as well.
To the carousel, and Larry Perkins closes up just a little on the tail of John Bow. This is a track that's the Commodores will be reasonably competitive on today. Keep in mind, last year we saw Win Percy come through the field, Peter Brock, and they're able to keep their tyres together, and Larry Perkins is working over John Bow.
He definitely is. This is a very testing driver's circuit. It's a tough circuit to get your car set up, and any car that is got itself working well by virtue of the fact that the drivers have set it up properly will do well here. And I think compliments to Larry Perkins. He's only run this car twice this year, twice in the top 6, and here running a very strong second.
Looks like Dick Johnson may have a flat tyre. He's headed for the pits, coming in for a quick changeover now. In goes Johnson, back in the lead. The race continues with John Bow trying to fend off Larry Perkins. Move over, Henry. Here come the General.
He is all over Bow like a rash, and look at Tony Longhurst just hanging in there waiting for either of these two in front to make a mistake. That's not likely, I wouldn't think, but he's hoping. And if he gets onto John Bow's tail, well, memories of Winton will come flooding back.
Yes, but they better not come flooding back too quickly, because Winton cost Tony $5,000 for his efforts. For that, no, we can't get any closer than that. Larry is definitely, he's a charger this weekend. He's got the bit between his teeth. He was very proud of his position yesterday. Held off a reasonable position in the dash this morning, and here he is in the lead of a Group A touring car race. A great run, Larry Perkins.
Look at the crowd, Wilco, as he stretches it across the line. They're all standing, waving, as Lightning Larry takes the Castrol Commodore down to the carousel, and keep an eye on Tony Longhurst.
Dick Johnson back on the track in position 23, and of course Dick is the crowd's man here. John Bow might be in the Shell team, but he does come from Tassie. There's a Commodore in front. They haven't had that to cheer about for a long time, and there is a big crowd here to do the cheering at Lakeside today.
Watch Tony Longhurst on the approach down here to Hungry Corner. Will he go inside John Bow? No. Bow's just got the lie to that turn, but make no mistake, he'll be working away at that corner in the next couple of laps.
Well, Tony won this race last year. He certainly knows just how hard he can push his car. I'm sure their selection of their Yokohama tires has been absolutely spot on. This is their home track. They know it like the back of their hand, and obviously Tony can afford a little luxury here of sitting back. He's not exactly sitting back. He's right there in the slipstream, and if he had a little bit more horsepower, would be able to drag John Bow down the main straight, but he can't do that and has to rely on nailing him under brakes somewhere, either here at the end of the straight or down into Hungry Corner.
Well, they come out of the carousel now. Longhurst sits right here on the bumper of the 18 car, the Shell Sierra. Larry Perkins taking off like Ned Kelly at the moment, trying to put a little gap between himself and John Bow. Now watch Longhurst. I don't think he's close enough this time to get him down on the inside. I remember last year he drove around them on the outside in this turn, absolutely brought the house down. He'll give it 10 tenths all day.
He will, and tire choice will be, of course, mandatory that you got the right one, and he'll realize that after running around Winton the way he did, nose to toe against John Bow, he'll certainly know John's driving style, and that's not a derogatory comment, but it's his job to get up there alongside that Shell Sierra and pass him in a manner that is sporting and professional.
He was closer the last lap, but here he comes again, down under brakes, the right-hander at carousel, sits right on the tail of John Bow. Meanwhile, Perkins opens it up to a couple of car lengths. Glenn Seaton has come through the field. Seaton now up to 4th as they exit the carousel and work their way towards Dunlop Bridge.
Because the Nissans aren't the only cars carrying extra weight here this weekend. They've got 100 kilos more. The Sierra's 50 kilos more, although they were already carrying part of that, so the penalty is not quite as severe as it seems for them. But that should play into Tony Longhurst's hands, that and the configuration of the Lakeside track. But on the straights, of course, John Bow's got the wood on him. It's here that he closes right up around these tight corners on the circuit. Now, as they straighten up, you watch John Bow pull away.
I would think, Alan, judging by the opening laps of this, if anyone has been affected by that 50-kilo weight penalty on a Sierra, it appears to be Glenn Seaton. Johnson's cars may have been running heavy anyway.
There is a possibility, although Glenn's got a lot of refinements in his vehicle as well. I think we're looking at the homegrown product here, Mike. It's not only Tony Longhurst's home circuit, it is Dick Johnson, it is John Bow's home circuit. They do a lot of testing here, and if they can't get a car set up just absolutely perfectly, and I mean absolutely perfectly, every corner's got to talk for them, they're not going to do it anywhere but here.
Larry Perkins in the lead, chased by John Bower, Tony Longhurst, Glenn Seaton running in 4th place at the present time, followed by Mark Skase in the first of the Winfield Nissans, and then 0-5 Peter Brock. That's the top half dozen at this stage with 8 laps gone in this first heat, 5th round, the Australian Touring Car Championship by Shell from Lakeside in Queensland. And what a terrific tussle, the top 3 here. Larry.
I was going to say, Gary, it's a fabulous place to come for a race. There are some really classy motor racing circuits. As Larry locks up one on the way into the left-hander. Lakeside, I guess, in the terrain and everything and the undulating corners, really makes it something special for the tourists because they all lurch around, and when they repave this, they fortunately repaved it with the bump still in it.
They left it, they just went over the carpet where the bumps were already there. But by the same token, the G-forces that are exerted on the cars, this left-hander that Larry's coming up to now, left hand for him, right for us, is one of the fastest corners in Australia, Mike. Probably outside of the kink off the straight at Bathurst, the cars are not exerting so much side force as they are through that corner. Brakes becomes a factor as well here, and certainly Perkins will be pushing his brake pedal for all he can to pull up 1,300 kilos. We got the Sierra behind him at 1,200 kilos, and Longhurst's car coming in just around the 1,000 mark, so certainly he can play with his brakes a little bit more efficiently than the 2 cars in front of him.
Already starting to pick up on some lap cars as they come down off the Motorcraft Hill. There's Dickie Johnson going back, I believe, into the pits. He's already had one pit stop. Thought he may have had a puncher. We'll get an update from Mark Osler in the pit shortly on that, as Perkins once again seems to get away by at least a car length down the straight, and he really is manhandling that Commodore V8 into the king.
His car is coming onto the straight extremely well. He was fiddling with a little bit of understeer in practice, Mike, but he got that fixed this morning. He said after the Peter Jackson dash that he was happy with the car, and if he's got speed coming onto the straight, that's where he needs it.
Left rear on Dick's car, giving a problem.
They've got a problem down there. We'll get an update.
Dick's finished.
Yeah, looks like Dick is ready to step out of the car. Mark Osler, we'll get a report from him.
Well, the high hopes of the Shell team today then riding on John Bowen. He's the ham of the sandwich at the moment between Larry Perkins and Tony Longhurst, and Longhurst looking for another lunge. He'll miss out here, of course, as they come down to the main straight again. You'll find that the Sierra will pull away, and Tony will have to wait for another day, or another lap anyway, before he has another go.
Hopefully not the day. He's got a second heat to come later in our broadcast. We're working lap number 12 here of heat number 1 at Lakeside. Round 5 of the Shell Touring Car Nationals. A very, very close contest. And if you're a general fan and love that throbbing sound of the V8, well, probably bringing tears to your eyes here today from Lakeside as Larry Perkins, one of the finest privateers, running in the Castrol Commodore, brings it down to Hungry Corner. Just a little lock up again.
Don't want to see too much of that. That's not going to hurt too much as long as he doesn't do it every lap. But John Bow's right on his hammer now. I think that my original forecast of Larry playing it a bit cool, he's hurting up across the top of the hill. I was going to say mountain, but the top of the hill. But he's certainly got it flying. You can see when he punches it coming down onto the main straight, the full force of that 500 horsepower, 550 horsepower V8 comes into play, and he's able to blast off John Bow down the straight.
Okay, they come out, the exit now to the carousel. Not the best of days for Dickie Johnson. Let's go down to Mark Osler.
Dick Johnson, a great disappointment for you. First tyre trouble now, a mechanical problem it seems.
Yeah, it's obviously not my day. Yesterday probably was, but first of all, we had a flat tyre on the warm-up lap, which really screwed things up. And then I get back out there and the thing's going all right, and then I broke a half shaft on the rear. So
John's doing a terrific job out in the race still. Do you think the Shell Sierras are going to win this thing?
Well, I sincerely hope he does, because with the amount of effort that's gone in, all the guys deserve it.
Thanks, Dick.
Okay, that's the situation. Bit of work to do for the Johnson team for heat number 2 a little later.
That's the worst thing that can happen, a flat tire on the warm-up lap. You get all out of sync. Your tires that you've practiced with have been grooved in. They're matched to each corner, and they don't like a strange tire being put on after a warm-up lap. But here we got Larry Perkins still holding off in fine fashion. He's hurting through some of these tighter corners, but the speed with which he's got his Castro Commodore coming onto the straight, I believe is going to be enough for him to hold off. He's got a nice advantage here still. It's not concerning him too much. He'll be nursing the car a little bit there. That's very hard on the right rear tire there. A little bit of a nurse here for his left rear tire, with a view to slingshotting himself onto the straight and using the tire up here. And you can see that little cushion of one car gap.
They come out of the turn, working the front straight here at Lakeside. Let's check them out for you on the Shell race score. Hey, it's a V8 day at Lakeside. Larry Perkins leads this little dude. John Bow, the Shell's hero, runs in second. Tony Longhurst is still there. Glenn Seaton runs in fourth. Mark Scaife rounds out the 5 in the Nissan, and we'll be back in just a moment. Coming down to Hungry Corner again, Longhurst on the outside. Still can't work away at the inside here of John Bow. Bow is under increased pressure here in this opening heat today at Lakeside to the top of Motorcraft Hill. And you start to sense that Longhurst is on the move. Perkins about 3 car lengths in front of these two. Longhurst loses out a little in horsepower down the straight, but he'll sit in for the draft and the pull along. They'll come down to the kink and watch him start to pull up ground as soon as they head to the carousel. Here he comes now. From this point, as soon as Bow gets onto the brakes, Tony is right up behind him. Pokes the nose again down on the inside. Longhurst side by side, door handle to door handle here with John Bow, and passes him on the inside just as he gets beneath the Dunlop Bridge, runs downhill to Hungry Corner. Will Larry Perkins be next?
Superb driving, very, very patiently sat in the slipstream, and I believe John Bow just got a little bit wide coming out of the carousel, and that's all Tony Longhurst needed. He dragged him up across the roller coaster under Dunlop Bridge and nailed him down into Hungary, and now he's away. It's goodbye, John, for the rest of this heat, and it's now a question of getting on to Perkins' bumper bar, and he's got it all over to do again.
Oh, sorry, Gary. I
Glenn
noticed
Seaton doing a good
yeah.
job. Terrific job by Glenn Seaton, getting up to 4th place in the race. Still got a lot of work to do to haul in the top bracket. Mark Scaife, of course, running in 5th. Second of the BMWs, Alan Jones slotted in right behind him. And then the rest of the Commodore Brigade. Oh, getting very untidy there with pressure from Alan Jones. 16 laps gone.
AJ keeping right on the tail of Jimmy Richards' Winfield Nissan as they go beneath the Dunlop Bridge and come down. See if Jonesy goes the inside. Yes, he does. So we're seeing Tony on the outside and now Alan on the inside. Great little passing area for the BMWs as the others stab the brakes and the cars get a little on the light side as they make the left-hander.
Well, they are the most nimble car in the field. They have to be by virtue of their weight, but let's not take anything away from the engineering under the bonnet and the superb chassis setting that the Longhurst team have put together. And Alan Jones is delighted with the way the car goes. Now, Tony will monster Larry. He won't put up with too much hindrance here, but by the same token, if he touches that Commodore, he's going to come off second best. That's 1,300 kilos of very firm metal sitting there.
Well, Larry's been all fired up. Here comes Longhurst. Oh, got him. Yes, what a beautiful manoeuvre, and so simple the way he did it.
Well, the BMWs were outstanding here last year. They're carrying another 20 kilos more this year than last at this stage of the season. But Lakeside is home territory for Frank Gardner, Tony Longhurst and the Benson and Hedges team. And gee whiz, he's done a great job from the second row today after wearing down Johnny Bow and then Larry Perkins. Tony Longhurst comes flying through the kink here. Perkins in pursuit, followed by Bow, and then starting to make the run up to them will be Mark Scaife, who's got away, and on the outside of Thomas Mazera, it'll be Glenn Seaton in the Peter Jackson Sierra. So the Nissan still in there with Mark Scaife. No sign at the moment of Peter Brock in the top 6. They're down mobile team have fronted with 1 car this weekend. Very disappointing because they've run 2 cars, Peter Brock and Neil Crompton. Neil's just back from the States, where he's been doing a lot of work with the American networks on a new exotic car series that will be going to air over there. And disappointing not to see him here today. They start with 2 cars for the season. It'd be great to see them run all the rounds. Looks like Terry Finnegan, the 27 car, that's gone off down there at the carousel and gets back on the racetrack. At least he's pointed in the right direction.
John Bauer now having a go at Larry Perkins. As I said, Larry Perkins has been on fire here so far this week. He was certainly fired up at the post-practice press conference yesterday, gave the Nissan boys a serve. He's not too happy now about Tony Longhurst giving him the go-by, and John Bauer's about to try and do the same thing to him. Poor old Larry, he's copping it from all sides.
I think his tires are probably hurting him just a little bit now, and bear in mind, this is a handful to drive a car of this weight around, and not that anybody else has got a free ride, but the roller coaster nature of Lakeside, the toing and throwing, the corners, they're not just flat. The car is falling one way or the other all the time, and it's a good driver that can hang on here and do well lap after lap.
Mark Scaife is really close it up behind these boys. They come down the hill. John thought he may have left a gap open, but there was no such luck there, because Perkins will get away on the straight. Brakes, as Alan has said, may well be the problem.
This
He's
is
just got to
very
conserve it.
This is very dangerous there, Michael, coming through that left-hander. They're doing over 220 Ks, and just the slightest amount of misjudgment, and John getting a little bit annoyed with Larry there. He's certainly...
Larry will drive him off the damn racetrack if he pulls too much of that stuff on.
Well, that allowed Mark Scaife to move up 1 notch.
That cost John his endeavour there. He's pushed the front guard onto his own tyre. He got a little annoyed. He didn't show the patience that Tony Longhurst exerted and had to put up with for many laps. And you just can't nudge.
We take our race cam sitting on the top of Glenn Seaton's Peter Jackson Sierra. He's mixed up in all of this. Oh, there goes one of those little Corollas, I think it was, off the racetrack, right caught up in that massive car.
Frank Binding.
Well,
He was out in the Bindi.
Frank is out of harm's way there at the moment.
I'm very concerned about John Bauer's tyre. He must know himself. He can see that smoke. I hope he knows how much rubber is sitting on that Dunlop tyre, but not the kind of place you want to have a blowout. But he's coming back at Larry. He's not giving up. He's going to try it again. And this time he's actually right up alongside. He's going to do the same move that Tony Longhurst executed and has managed to do it.
John gets through. Took him a lap and a bent fender to do it.
Yeah.
Well, by the time this one's over and he returns to the pits and Dick has a look at the problems with the 17 car, and then squashed in guard on the 18. We're working lap number 23 here at Lakeside this afternoon. It's been a tremendous race so far. Larry Perkins providing a lot of the action for us. And Tony Longhurst, of course, getting through to take over the lead.
Perkins has got this Commodore flying absolutely in the 2 spots where it really has to fly, coming onto the straight and through that very fast left-hander on the main after the start-finish line. He's definitely a traffic hazard here, and the other fellows are molesting him.
That's Jonesy, who has just done a superb job in this one, the backup. He just loves his stuff. He can possibly get down. You can see him 2 cars ahead on the inside, and that's exactly what he did to Perkins. So Alan Jones storming through. He's been able to pass quite a number of them to get to the top of Motorcraft Hill. And as they come down off the hill, he's right on the tail now of Larry Perkins. And with about 5 laps to go, this race is far from over as Jonesy pulls to the outside of the Mark Gibbs car coming down the straight. And here's Larry and Mark Scaife debating issue.
Well, Larry's not going to give way, and I certainly hope that Mark knows how many millimeters he's got between his front wheels and Larry's rears. That's a hairy place to try a passing maneuver. There's a little bit more sane approach.
Yeah, Richards gets through and moves up another notch. Larry slipping back. So after leading for so much in the early part of the race, Larry Perkins finds himself well out of contention now. This is the battle for 3rd spot now. Alan Jones reeling in John Bauer, who must be running out of rubber on the left front after that touch with Larry Perkins a few laps ago.
Well, it stopped smoking, Gary, and I think as long as it stops smoking, it's probably the wear factor's gone as far as it's going to go. I think he is safe, but it looked a bit ominous there for a couple of laps. he was brave enough to stay out there, and I'll give him credit for that. You smell the smoke. It's bad enough smelling it, having to see it as well.
2 laps remaining.
Alan Jones closes up behind John Bowe as they come out of that turn and work down towards the Dunlop Bridge. Been a great race.
I think Alan Jones might be quite happy to be content with third here. He knows he's got another heat in front of him. He's got a nice starting position for the second heat. I don't think he's going to do anything silly here on this very last lap. He's not quite close enough to endanger John Bowe's position in any event. But a very nice run from John Bowe in the Shell Sierra to fight as hard as he could.
On their last lap, Tony Longhurst has already gone across the line. There's the board for the rest of them as they follow down into the carousel. John Bowe still debating with Alan Jones. Terry Finnegan, the Foodtown Commodore, that had a spin early in the race. He's been able to get back out on the track and pick up a little bit of ground, but he's staying out of harm's way here at the moment. He didn't make life very comfortable for Alan Jones. Jones may have just been using him a little blocking here for the Richards and the Nissan.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that, and fair enough too. These fellas are not running around being lapped. They're fighting for positions, and they wouldn't be doing their job if they didn't drive as defensively as it demands, as the situation demands.
Coming off the hill now, we're looking for the checkered flag as they come down. Tony Longhurst in the Benson and Hedges BMW. Ronnie Meacham will have a smile from ear to ear as they come across the line. The checkered flag is out. Round 1 here today has gone to David. Across the line into second spot will be Mark Scaife in the Winfield Nissan. Third will be John Bowe in the Shell Sierra. Alan Jones finishes 4th in the second of the B&H BMWs. Richards 5th, Seaton 6th, and Larry Perkins 7th. Checking those out there, the confirmation on our Shell race score. Congratulations, Tony Longhurst. Mark Scaife in second, John Bowe 3rd, Jones 4th, Richards 5th, and we'll be back in a moment to talk to the winner.
And welcome back to Lakeside Raceway on 7 Sport. After the first heat of today's 5th round of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship, all smiles. Tony Longhurst took a little bit of patience. It was sure hot work up front there.
Yeah, it really is. The day temperature's come up and the track's much greasier now, and I didn't want the same incident with Bowe, so I took it very carefully and eventually got through.
It was a terrific 3-way go there for a dozen laps.
Yeah, I think Cams have got the balance very, very good with that Nissan coming through towards the end there. That was a hell of a scrap.
So what about the second round?
I'm not looking forward to racing Nissan off the start. It's going to be very hard.
Well, we're looking forward to it. It's going to be great racing again. Congratulations, Tony Longhurst, winner of the first heat. Can he win the second? Can he take out today's 5th round of the championship? All that will unfold as our telecast continues this afternoon. Right now, though, we've got coming up HQ Holden's marvellous entertainment. Here's Mike Raymond with the grid.
You're not wrong, Wilco. This is a case of many red cars in front of many red cars. 69, Michael Olsen off pole position. Peter Hopwood starting alongside, and then Steve Butchart. Look at those times and how close they are. Russell Walden starts out of position number 4 from 5. It's Tim Sipp starting out of position number 6. Kurt Kratzmann from 7. It's Michael Simpson out of 8. It's Greg Woodrow from 9. Troy Curling, and rounding out the 10 is Val Sharp. And a very, very big field. 23 starters for the Pioneer Asphalt HQ Kingswood Trophy race here at Lakeside today. You get the impression, Gary and Mark, that these guys might be spotted by the time they reach the carousel.
Yeah, you're not wrong there, Mark. Look at them, will you? It's outrageous, but it's wonderful, and boy, do they enjoy it. And so do the fans. It's provided great racing.
10 seconds away from the start. Michael Olsen on pole position for the Pioneer Asphalt race, and he gets off and grabs another gear, gets away from our old mate Peter Hopwood as they go down to the carousel. Watch them through the kink here.
They look really fast, don't they, Mike? Coming down the main straight for the first time, a whole gaggle of cars. Mike Olsen, the man on pole position, knocked off the HQ Nationals champion, Peter Hopwood, a guy who's enormous experience in this and a lot of race wins. So he's a surprise pole position man. He'll lead them out of the carousel on the first lap as they get the old HQs cranked up as they come under the bridge.
Well, if they put on half the show that we saw from the HQs at Calder Park Thunderdome last Sunday, it'll be a rare race. That was really fabulous. They come down beneath the Dunlop Bridge on their way to the left-hander at Hungry Corner. And your pole man, Michael Olsen, holds the lead. Car number 69. There's Peter Hopwood from Sydney. one of, if not the most experienced driver in this field.
I was going to say it's a contradiction in terms, but this would be a bit pedestrian for him after some of the cars he's driven.
Or sure beats it being a pedestrian.
Michael Olsen leads them onto the main straight for the first time, the 23-year-old on pole position before. Rookie of the year in the Geminis a few years ago. Oh, they're all getting out of shape. One's gone into the fence.
Well, he's got it straightened up, but then again, he had enough straight to work at.
He's hit the fence 17 times.
Spun just in sympathy. 97 goes around.
And around.
Alan Bowen.
And around.
It's like
no.
No, he couldn't possibly. He's covered 300 metres, 150 forward and 150 in reverse.
And he wants to have another go.
That was one of the longest losers in Australian motor racing.
I'd call for a replay, but it'll take 3 minutes. Car 97 it was that wound up in a spotter bother there.
One of the advantages of starting from pole position, you do manage to avoid all that sort of thing. So Michael Olsen leads them round on the second lap in the pink Capricorn Wholesale Vehicles HQ Holden.
And the good thing is you've got much more car to put the sign rating on, so you can't miss the signs. Oops. Russell Waldron. Russell started out of position number 4, and he's had a coming together with something and has decided to park it on the grass verge over there.
We're at lap 3 of 6, the halfway mark, and about half the field left.
Huge brake lock up there from Kurt Kratzmann, getting pretty desperate under brakes into the carousel. Yes, the crowd's not only love these things, I'm sure the wrecking yards all over Australia love these things too. They've been moving a lot of HQ Holden parts over the last couple of years, I'm sure. And look at Kratzmann tap right onto the back. Holding these things, they look like they're holding them flat as they come down to brakes. 47, Kratzmann locks up the brakes again. No ABS on the HQs of 1973. Meanwhile, he gets left behind. They're out on the grass. Car 20.
Tim Sipp, suck it and see.
The top of the hill and down the other side, not touching that with a barge pole. Our race leader is still Michael Olsen.
Tim Sipp set the standard. Everyone's trying for a bit of a cross-country run. Rallycross returns to Lakeside. This car number 9.
2 laps to go next time they come around.
Will anyone survive?
Yeah, it's been a highly entertaining race, but I don't think anyone's going to put the wood on Olsen. He's well and truly clear as they come down here. We've been following Kratzmann and the rest in this group. Doesn't he have the monster lockups?
Got some sort of a brake problem there, it appears. Steve Butchart takes advantage of that, moves up right on the bumper bar of Kratzmann's car as they come out of the carousel once again.
The tail ender in this quartet, the green machine, car number 19, Greg Woodrow, 3-time Queensland go-kart champion. New entrant into the sport, doing a good job too. Qualified 8th and is holding his own here.
Tremendous. They'll be going to the top of the hill for the final time.
They look pretty fast when they come under that camera there. Kratzmann doing his usual brake lock-up.
Sensational. Yeah, the problem is he hasn't got any. You can't lock up what's not there.
Steve Butchart gives him a little tap. Kratzmann was sort of slow coming out of the corner there. Car 54, where are you? Wilco. Val Sharp. She's having all sorts of trouble just getting this thing going in the right direction. A P later as well, but back to the lead. Mike Olsen, the man who set the pace in qualifying, comes into the last lap now.
Oh, look at the gap he's got. Very unemotional man with the last lap board as Olsen goes through, looking for Hopwood to see if he's been able to pull back any ground. There's Pete in the Caltex machine. And then there's third. And this has been raging. Watch Kratzmann, he'll have to have another lock-up. Here it is, on cue.
Kratzmann holding down third from Butchart.
He'd have a
I tell you, he's put on a good show for the crowd though, Kurt.
have a nice thumping left front wheel there. But anyway, we've got one more big brake lock-up to come as they head down into Hungary Corner. We'll hold our breath. Steve Butchart still holding the other 2 guys up there.
Well, he's got a bit of a break on them here.
Yep.
We'll wait and see. This is where he's been locking them up on the downhill run to the left-hander at Hungary. See, our director was a spoiler. He didn't show it. I heard it.
I saw a wisp of smoke.
As they come to the top of the hill, pole sitter Michael Olsen has gone well and truly away. He's halfway down the hill. As the rest of the field goes by now, there'll be checkered flag time this time through. Kratzmann comes through, but here is the man who sat on pole, and he's gone on to win this one, the Pioneer Asphalt race. Michael Olsen, the race winner from Peter Hopwood. Hopwood gets across for the second spot. And Kurt Kratzmann in car number 47, I think has lasted long enough to finish back there in third spot. Entertainment from Lakeside Raceway. The drivers are on their cool-off lap. The brakes will certainly need it. Micah Olsen was your race winner. Peter Hopwood placed second. Kurt Kratzmann was third. Steve Butchart was back there in fourth place. And rounding out the 5, it was Michael Simpson. We'll be back in just a moment or so. Welcome back to Lakeside Raceway. Huge field now coming onto the circuit. 22 starters for the Motorcraft Formula Ford Driver to Europe Series for 1992 that's provided us with splendid racing. Let's look at the grid lineup. John Blanchard yet again in the Palmere Swift at 54.95. Just marginally quicker than Cameron McConville. Out of position number 3, very consistent Michael Dutton at 55.37. Ron Searle starts out of position number 4. Clive Peasy out of position number 5. From 6, it's Craig Lowndes in the Van Diemen. From 7, Stephen White in the Clipsal Swift. From 8, 72, Gavin Monaghan. From 9, it's 32, Tim Wood. Rounding out the 10, 51, Scott Rowe. And not a great deal of time between the top 10. A field of 22 starters this afternoon at Lakeside Raceway. Always provides us with plenty of exciting racing. And we're about 10 seconds away from the start of this round of the Motorcraft Formula Ford Driver to Europe Series. Off the starting line, as expected, John Blanchard gets down the outside, but Cameron McConville just moves over just a touch, trying to cover his tracks and get to the inside for the next corner, and he does that very effectively. Here's the field sweeping through the kink down to the right-hander that we know as the Carousel here at Lakeside, and you'll find it's Cameron McConville, the young driver from Victoria, who comes out of the turn. I think that's the first round of the Motorcraft, but he's actually hit the front in the first lap. And make no mistake, he'll give John Blanchard a tough ride here today.
Cameron McConville is a real charger. He's an 18-year-old kid. He's been the sensation of Formula Ford racing, certainly last year, and he's come back much stronger this year. Gets the car a little bit sideways coming out of Hungary on the first lap. John Blanchard behind him, Michael Dutton and Ron Searle, the top 4. We saw these guys put in tremendous scrap in a preliminary race earlier this morning, so we should be in for some hell of an action this afternoon.
And just in behind the leading quartet, car number 16, Craig Lowndes from Victoria, only 17 years of age. There's a terrific element of youth in this category of racing this season.
That's the great thing about Formula Ford. A lot of young stars get their start here, and these a lot of young guys. John Blanchard would be considered the old man in this pack. 31 years of age. He's the guy who's leading the championship at the moment. He tucks in behind Cameron McConville as they come out of the Carousel. Michael Dutton in 3rd place. Ron Searle in 4th.
Old at 31. Don't wash your mouth out.
He'd be considered an old boy amongst this pack, Michael, I can assure you.
Have respect for your elders, Osler. Beneath the Dunlop Bridge, down to Hungary Corner again. Great dice this between Cameron McConville. Right behind him, John Blanchard, and Michael Dutton, who's been Mr. Consistent of the races so far. Ron Searle sits in behind him, so the 4 haven't changed. If anything, Michael Dutton's really falling back into the hands of Ron Searle.
And I feel it's only fair to point out there are a couple of young 40-year-olds in the race as well.
Thank you, Walker. Across the line now. Gee, this is good to see young McConville. He's doing it very smoothly, but he's under a lot of pressure from the man who has sat on the front row for just about every round, and that's John Blanchard. Palmere Swift.
It's a great classroom for these Formula Ford races is go-kart racing, and young McConville spent about 7 years in the karts before progressing to Formula V and moving into Formula Ford last year as Blanchard climbs all over the back of him. He's not going to give him a second's piece. Fills the mirrors of the yellow Van Diemen RF92, 92 I should say. In behind him the latest of the Swiss cars, the SC92. So it's a good technical battle here. 2 Swifts and 2 Van Diemens in the top 4.
Blanchard, of course, is a man with an age of experience on his side, talent too, but the absolute raw talent of Cameron McConville, what a big future this boy has.
John Blanchard, the winner of the Formula Ford Festival at Winton in 1990, won it again last year and was second in the DTE, well, that's the Driver to Europe Series. So he's a guy with a lot of experience, a lot of potential, a lot of speed, and he certainly wants to go one better this year and win the championship. He sticks the nose of the Swift right under the gearbox of McConville. There's nothing in this. These cars so evenly matched. It's going to go right down to the wire, and it'll be a great technical battle to see who can position themselves in the best place as they come into that final lap.
Well, Sterling Moss started his racing career when he was less than 18, the help of his father.
Scott Rowe puts the car into the rubber fence.
Well, he's not going anywhere.
No, he looks okay, but he climbs out of the car. Back to the front, Cameron McConville managing to hold off this pack. A lot of pressure from John Blanchard. Michael Dutton, the guy who moved over from Van Diemen to the Swift mark this year. And in behind them, Ron Searle, the guy who's been campaigning in Formula Fords for a number of years, also ran Formula Brabham.
at Sandown, put in a terrific race there, but the Formula 4 Championship's the one he really wants to win this year.
These cars are very nicely balanced. They've got tiny little brakes compared to a touring car. You don't see them locking them up very much. They've got the balance between front and rear just right. And this is real driving, and these young fellows getting a chance on a circuit like Lakeside to learn car control and that lateral force, which is so important if you're ever going to go on into a bigger car. So, Mark, they're learning not only car control, but real racecraft here.
Certainly do. It's one of the toughest racing categories in the world. It's been going for about 20 years now, I think, just from memory. Lap 4 of 20, so we're only not even a quarter of the way into this contest. This category's come under a lot of pressure from specialists, things like Formula Renault and Formula Vauxhall Lotus manufacturer formulas in Europe. So Australia is becoming increasingly a more important market for these Formula Ford manufacturers.
And it is nice to see that when the winners of this class get overseas, they generally acquit themselves well. I know Larry Perkins went over as a winner 1 year, and Thomas Mazera another year, and they obviously learned their craft well and went on to better things in Europe.
It is one of the truly successful international formulas, as Russell Ingall proved last year, taking his car over to the British Formula Ford Festival. All he had to do was put it on the plane, bring it over and put it on the track, which is a tremendous way for these guys to be able to go racing.
And of course the winner here last year, Paul Morris, now holding his own in the B&H BMW touring car team.
Absolutely. The level of expertise that's required to drive a Group A car, you can't really run a nursery anymore. You have to take a fellow on credentials, and Formula Ford is proving itself to be a very good, I don't like to use the term nursery, but a very good training ground for potential drivers that want to get out there and get on with a genuine racing career.
The top quartet, the top 5 now, in fact, because another car is tacked on to the end of this leading division. And here's a big go down the main straightaway. Blanchard continually having a look underneath Conville, but without success so far.
Now look who's joined onto the back of this quartet. That's Stephen White, the man who ran very well at Amaroo Park. He also won the Australian Grand Prix support race last year. And he had a bit of trouble in practice. He had a carburetor float break on the engine's carburetor, had all sorts of engine problems through practice. He's fixed that, and now he's back at the pace that we've seen him in the earlier rounds of this championship.
Generally, when you see a few more cars tag onto the Congo line, it's an indication that the lead car is just holding things up a little bit. But to his credit, McConville is holding Blanchard at bay. But certainly to see 5 cars running in unison like they are is an indication that they're virtually all changing gears in synchro.
Look at Stephen White looking all over the back of Ronnie Searle there. Van Diemen versus Swift. This new Swift is a sensational car. Lap 7 of 20 as they pass the line that time. Stephen White right under the gearbox of Ron Searle's Van Diemen. Young 18-year-old, comes from Victoria. 4th in the Australian Formula Ford Festival last year. He spent 5 years in go-karting. Oof, not a lot of room there. 15 months in Formula Ford, so he's only a new recruit to this category, showing a lot of speed, a lot of aggression. Ron Searle manages to hold him out, but this is quite a fierce contest as they come under brakes for Hungry Corner.
Those two having their own private war. The top 3 pulled away just a little. McConville continues to lead from Blanchard and Michael Dutton in 3rd place.
This has been a tremendous technical fight back by the Swift company too. Van Diemen by far the most successful chassis manufacturer in Formula Ford, with over 41 victories in the championship so far. Swift with only 6. And Stephen White's going to try and make that 7 as he looks all over the back of Ron Searle's car, waves his arm in aggression. He's frustrated.
Well, he can wave it all he wants. The guy in front of him is there because he's driving harder or faster. It's up to him to get by without colliding with that car. And quite honestly, he's showing a little immaturity here. And every time he takes his hand off the wheel, the car's obviously only 50% in control. 2 hands on the wheel at all times, pretty good starting point.
Stephen White's currently 3rd in the Australian Driver to Europe series, being led at the moment by Job Blanchard, who also leads this race. McConville in 2nd place. Stephen White showing an enormous amount of aggression here as he climbs all over the back of Ron Searle's car. But Ron, by now, a very experienced Formula Ford campaigner as well. He's been running the championship for a number of years.
And he's certainly not doing anything unsporting. Mark, he's driving his race, and the fellow wants to get by. He's going to have to do it with a little bit more cunning than he's showing at the moment.
Well, Ron wants to race internationally next year if he can win the Driver to Europe series. He's not quite up there at the moment, but he's got a lot of work to defend his position as they sweep down through this ultra-fast kink in the middle of the main straight.
This is a terrific scrap. And White round the outside. Oh, it's a tough way to do it. He
Not
won't
yet.
possibly get round there.
Not yet.
Just shows how evenly matched these cars are. Tremendous little racing cars, about 110 horsepower. They run on a Control Avon tyre. The chassis are amongst one of the most advanced in space frame racing car construction. Ron Searle moves over, covers his line, and Stephen White is going to have to do something rather desperate, I think, if he's going to fix up Ron Searle here.
Stephen White will have white knuckle fever by the time this is over.
Whoa, Ron gets way out of shape coming over the top of the hill. He's managed to hang on to his position. Stephen White could see that. He would know Ron would be sweating under this pressure.
The Formula Ford Driver to Europe Series, lap 10 of 20. We've gone the half distance here. Cameron McConville continues to lead from John Blanchard, Michael Dutton, Ron Searle, and Stephen White. We'll be back at Lakeside in a moment with more. They are still at it, but a third car now has latched onto the back of this pair, battling for fourth, fifth and sixth positions. It's car number 16, Craig Lowndes. It's the 17-year-old boy from Victoria we were talking about at the start. So this is developing into another battle within the battle for this race.
Craig Lowndes really is making a name for himself this year. That's a 7-year-old car, the old RF85, the car which really created a sensation. It was by far a technical advancement to anything else that was around at the time. But that car has dated rapidly, as you can see by the far more aerodynamic designs in front of him. But Craig put in a tremendous drive at Amaroo Park in the rain, came very close to winning the event, and he's still chipping away in this series. He had a nasty engine miss during qualifying, then he missed a gear, he buzzed the engine, he's got it back together for the race. But look at Stephen White backwards.
We're looking at an accident about to happen here. If this fellow doesn't calm himself down, he's going to just touch the rear wheels of Searle's car and find himself in a real death-defying spin.
Well, we saw Stephen using the same tactics at Winton, Alan. He was switching backwards and forwards across the straight, pretty desperate stuff, but it didn't actually get him anywhere by the time that he flagged.
No, it won't get him anywhere, but what it is getting him is a real headache. And for my money, Searle is driving a proper race, and this guy White is definitely working him over, and I hope not to his own detriment. I hate to see this, because this is definitely ambition getting mixed up with ability, and you don't do that on the fastest corner on the circuit. Now, he may feel comfortable, but from my view, it's not making me feel very comfortable.
They come up to lap some slower traffic.
Yeah, he almost ran himself up the back of a slower car there too.
Stephen White gets snookered, but Craig Lowndes, the guy who's sitting behind watching all this action taking place, Stephen White switching all over the track. Craig Lowndes, the Victorian go-kart champion, as I said, running a much older car, and this will do his reputation no damage at all, being able to keep up with these much newer chassis in a car that's pretty long in the tooth by now.
What he wants to do, if he wants to be brave, instead of performing for the camera, if you like, is to just sit right on the tailpipe of Searle's car and wait for that momentary mistake and take advantage of it. He's so busy weaving from one side or the other that the advantages that will be given to him if Searle makes a mistake, he's not going to be able to capitalize on.
So we're way past race distance, half race distance, and there we are, the leader. Cameron McConville still managing to hang off John Blanchard and Michael Dutton, I should say, in third position. There's a big break back to fourth, fifth and sixth. Oh, Stephen White using all of the tarmac and a bit more. Grass and dust as he turns into the kink that time. Craig Lowndes, meanwhile, sitting back and watching all this actions. Ron's made about a 2-car break on them as they come out of the carousel that time.
Been watching too many Mad Max movies, Stephen White.
Well, I agree with you, Gary, and quite honestly, while he's having one of these flip-flops from back to the fro, the young Lowndes is likely to snatch a half a length.
Back up the front, the battle continues. Michael Dutton is having a little bit of a tussle to keep on the back now of the leading two. They've been at it right from the moment the flag dropped. Cameron McConville came from second position on the grid, grabbed the lead. Oh, and here we've got now Blanchard having a real big go himself.
This is lap 14 of 20. We've got 6 laps to go. As we said, oh, it goes right down to the wire. There may have been a tap there. You saw the car, and Stephen White goes down the inside. That is a desperate move. The car's reaching about 180 kilometres an hour through the kink. Ron Searle tries to fight back, but Stephen White's done it. Oh, the wheels have touched. Goodness me, that's one of the most dangerous things you'll see in open wheeler racing. If a car rides up there, they quite often end up on their lids.
There was some frustration from Searle there. He got nailed. I handed to White. He nailed him very convincingly down the straight, and that was heart and mouth stuff. He definitely out to make a name for himself, and he certainly did that. He passed in the most dangerous place on the track, nailed him, and Ron Searle's gone up there and said, I didn't really like that, and in a unsporting manner gave him a little rub of the tires.
Stephen White, no lack of courage.
And almost brought himself undone in the process, though. That was the problem.
Look at the enormous gap that's open now between the leading three and this bunch. The fight's still on for 4th, 5th and 6th. Ron Searle has a look down the inside of the kink that time, but he hasn't got enough real estate on White. Comes hard under brakes, 5 laps to go. A desperate Formula Ford contest in round 4 of the Motorcraft Formula Ford Driver of the Year Series for 92. Ron Searle's not going to give up, don't you worry.
2 races of 3 cars each, really, in this battle for the Formula Ford event. This is the battle for 4th, 5th and 6th, but what a scrap it has been. No less absorbing than the scrap up front between the 3 leading cars at the present time, McConville, Blanchard and Dutton. As Alan Moffat said, Mike Raymond, it's been heart in the mouth stuff.
It certainly has. I take the point that Alan was making, and the fact that he recognised that young White made the big move on the outside. When he did actually pass Searle, it was very clean, but boy,
Look
he
at
must have
Craig
felt the skin tightening on the back of his neck. Look at it, still continues. 4 laps to go.
Cameron
3.5
McConville.
actually now, with Cameron McConville has driven a splendid race, but we've missed
John Blanchard,
who's gone missing. There's Michael Dutton running in second.
Now it'll be interesting to see what happened to Blanchard there. Looking very strong in second place, also leading the championship. And this will be good for McConville. He's not only second in the championship, he's also leading the Auto Action Shell Young Drivers Award, which if he manages to win that at the end of the year, he gets a drive. There's Stephen Richards, getting out of shape, younger son of touring car champ Jim Richards.
He's found the right way back onto the track. This is just a turn left there, and he was there. There's Stephen White. Ron Searle still sits on the tail of him.
But Craig Lowndes has managed to sneak past Ron Searle in all that action. And there's 2 more cars tapping onto the back of this battle. That looks like Clive Peasley. So, tremendous tussle in the Formula Ford scrap. Stephen White's opened up 2 or 3 car lengths now.
Blanchard's still running in third, but his engine's off song. He's about to be gathered in by this group.
Well, that'll damage John's title hopes. Cameron McConville's only 4 points behind him in the title chase. So Craig Lowndes, tremendous job in the old RF85 Van Diemen. He's taken Ron Searle. You can see him looking left and right in his mirrors as Searle fills them up with that white Van Diemen.
Yes, we've seen some pretty brave stuff today. One of the better Formula Ford races for the season.
Lakeside always seems to produce this sort of battle. Last year we had a tremendous scrap between Paul Morris, Troy Dunstan and Brad Peters, and they've turned on the action once again. Oh! Ron Searle got the nose box up in the back of Lowndes' car, I think it was. You can see the damage there.
2 laps to go. Leaders already on their way down to the carousel. We're looking for the scrap. Stephen White, young Craig Lowndes, Ron Searle.
Oh, those wheels.
Not the place, as Alan said earlier, where you want to touch wheels through that kink on the way to the carousel where the cars are running about 240, 250 Ks.
So Ron Searle, the battle-scarred Van Diemen. Car 37, Clive Peasy, has climbed up the back of this battle, and car 77 also joins them. Was that car 72, Gavin Monaghan? So, constantly changing field in the Formula Ford race in the closing laps.
Well, nothing's changed up front. Cameron McConville still leading up there while this enormous battle goes on for the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. But there is the leader, McConville, and on the last lap, Michael Dutton is really pushing hard now. He had to wait his chance to get past John Blanchard. He did that 2 laps ago and is really putting the pressure on the race leader now.
Michael Dutton's been struggling since Friday. He blew up his good race engine. He's only got the spare engine in there now. He's been working very hard on his setup to try and get the most out of the car. He's obviously done that, but I better be praying for a couple of extra horsepower at this stage.
Cameron McConville, only 18.
Just 18 years of age, right, Mike? Yeah.
As we mentioned our Winton telecast, a young guy, dedicated, family right behind him. His dad takes weekends off to be able to drive the race car to the track, and of course young Cameron finishes school and jumps on the plane, and he's at the racetrack and he's back studying.
Something for show and tell.
I tell you, he's got textbook drive here today. Checkered flag time coming out for the Motorcraft Formula 4 driver to Europe Series. It'll be the young Victorian Cameron McConville who gets across the line. Boy, do you think he's not happy. Dutton will pick up the second out of that. And I would think probably Stephen White may lead them down. There's Blanchard still defending as they come across the line, and Blanchard will just get there. Engine was a little off song in the closing stages, and that'll put Stephen White up into the 4th place, Craig Lowndes to 5th, and Ron Searle probably to 6th. Here come the cars now. Let's check them out for you. The top 6 on our Shell race score. Cameron McConville, a deserving winner here at Lakeside today. Michael Dutton, always there, picks up 2nd. John Blanchard with an Ailey engine finishes 3rd. Stephen White, what a drive from him. And rounding out the 5, Craig Lowndes. Back here at Lakeside Raceway, we're preparing for Heat 2, Round 5 of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship. Capacity field on the grid. What's that, a Brock Boater and a Dick Hat? Both supporting their loyal racers here this afternoon. Who knows who will come up with victory. Let's take a look at the top 10, how they'll line up now for Heat number 2 this afternoon. Tony Longhurst in the Benson and Hedges BMW has pole position over John Bowe in the Shell Sierra, and row number 2 will be Alan Jones, the second of the Bimmers. Number 1, Jim Richards in the Winfield Nissan GTR. From 5, it's 30, Glenn Seaton, the Peter Jackson Sierra. Position 6, 23, Paul Morris, the third of the B&H BMWs. From 7, 8, Colin Bond, the Caltech CXT Sierra. From 8.05, Peter Brock, the Mobil 1 Commodore. 9.35, Wayne Park, the second Peter Jackson car. And out of 10.61, Thomas Mazzera. Grid just about set. Right at the back this afternoon, Larry Perkins, Mark Scaife, Kevin Waldock, Terry Finnegan and Bob Jones, all because of tyres, Alan Moffat.
Yes, they've scuffed their tyres beyond repair in the first heat, and they've asked for replacement tyres. They've been granted that, but they suffer the indignity of starting from the back of the field, plus a 10-second delay, so we've got a double start.
Should be quite interesting in the middle stages. Stand by, Australia. We're ready to go racing with Heat number 2 from Round 5 at the lovely Lakeside Raceway. A long 10 seconds, but Bowe gets off the line, and there goes Richards down the outside. See ya, boys. 4-wheel drive. Just zooms off the start as everyone thought he would. John Bowe immediately drops into 2nd. Next is Tony Longhurst, and right behind him is Alan Jones. Those starting from the back of the field have got a lot of work to do. They have to be careful in the opening couple of laps of this race. Perkins try to come through the pack. There's Johnson. He's lined up in car number 17 after problems earlier today. They're through the carousel on their way to the Dunlop Bridge and the run downhill to the left-hander at Hungry Corner. And that's the entire field.
Brock got a good start there too. He's nailed up into 9th spot ahead of Mazzera.
Jim Richards, a blinder though, and is pulling away. He's putting the boot right into the Winfield Nissan to make every post a winner here in the second heat, because he knows the BMWs are going to be coming home like steam at the end of this 28-lap race.
Home with a wet sail, as they say. I walked in here and asked the boys if they want to put some money on. I nominated Richards to win this one, and Alan Moffat, you wouldn't have a bar of it.
No, I wouldn't, and I must say I think I was asleep at the wheel of it, Michael. There you've got some statistics I don't know. We're going to have to talk to our statistical division. You got inside information that I wasn't looking at. No, Jim Richards, a fine start off the second row to leap into the lead, and now Tony Longhurst has got the problem of having a heel. He's going to think this is an absolute nightmaresville. He's always behind John Bowe to fight through. He's got to use himself up, use his tires up to get by John Bowe, and while he's doing that, Richards has got a reasonably free run out in front.
Here's Paul Morris, the young Queenslander, running the third of the B&H BMWs. Came into the team this year under the patronage of Frank Gardner and Tony Longhurst. They took a guy out of the Formula Fords that had done so well in season 91, just to bring a new fresh face into touring car racing, and he is certainly responding here at Lakeside, his home track. Bowe, Longhurst, the battle for second. 18 over 25 at the carousel. Richards running a steady pace just ahead of them, and these two guys have got to go to Richards. Jones back there in the 4th spot. That's the order beneath Dunlop Bridge, and the run downhill to Hungry Corner once again. And this is perhaps where Longhurst will be able to get John Bowe in a lap or two's time on the inside.
Well, it's really going to test Longhurst's patience here, because if he thinks Richards is getting away and if he feels that Bowe is holding him up, we're going to have a rerun of the situation we had at Winton, and he may not be able to maintain his cool.
Scaife up to 16th already after starting dead last in the field, or all but dead last, out of position number 22. So he's up 5 as our race leader Jimmy Richards. The Winfield Nissan coming down to the carousel. Behind him, John Bower, and the man who copped $5,000 for giving the Tasmanian a helping hand at Winton.
Well, I would think that he's already agitated. Tony is like to be a little bit closer. I don't think he's too worried yet. We got over 25 laps to unfold here, but as Gary said earlier, he'll be watching that GTR in front and not wanting to be held up too long by John Bowe.
Well, race cam in Dick Johnson's car shows it all. As Johnson gets away from Colin Bond, that was through Hungary Corner. Keeping in mind that Dick hasn't had the best of days so far, but they've been able to repair the car. Johnson up to position number 9.
Well, they're flying here at Lakeside. They're not fooling around. You can see that lurching of the suspension there in John Bowe's car. Tony Longhurst has got his BMW wound out to the limit as well. He's trying to gain time here through the carousel, and you'll notice he does creep just virtually a car length back onto the back bumper bar of John Bowe, but he needs to get a little bit closer if he's going to nail him as they go through this twisting, very dicey part. This is a driver's city up around the top here. You've got to hold onto your car. The slightest miscalculation on where you're placing your steering wheel and you're going to be in a lot of trouble. It looks easy.
Well, Richard going through there. There's Paul Morris, followed by Glenn Seaton. The next is Peter Brock going through, Thomas Mazera, Dick Johnson, then Colin Bond. Then Bob Forbes coming up, then followed by the Ashby Reed, Lansvale Smash Repairs, Dulux Auto Colour car. And Larry Perkins a little off the pace, noted back in the pack just a little bit.
Not going to be able to capitalise at all. I think he had his run in the sun this morning. But this is such fierce competition that if you can't start on the first 2 or 3 rows, you lose so much off the start, you're not in it.
Lap 5 of 28, heat number 2 this afternoon of round 5. The Shell Australian Touring Car Championship coming to you from one of our favourite racetracks, Lakeside in Queensland.
And while Larry Perkins is languishing at the back of the pack, the Commodore Brigade being led by Peter Brock and Thomas Mazera running 7th and 8th respectively, as again we take Dunlop race cam in the Dick Johnson Ford Sierra.
He's coming up towards the top of Motorcraft Hill. Alan, you've been around here a few times. Like to talk us around the circuit, but he's 6-speeder.
A little bit, yeah. Well, we want to ask him what gear he's in now, but down the hill, slingshot, and fast onto the straight here. He's wanting to pick up the slipstream that he can get from Mazera's Holden, and sneaking up ever so slowly. This is very nervy through here. There's a bump on the inside there. You can see the wiggle. It's being kind to him, but the Shell Sierra is set up very nicely. And Dick under control here at the moment, trying to get a little bit closer. You can see Mazera actually held up by the car in front of him.
It looks like Brocky won up.
On and off, you can see there's a bump on the inside of the course there, down under Dunlop Bridge, and here locking Mazera, getting a little up, definitely.
Wow.
When the car understeers like that, Michael, he loses control. He just turns his car into a water ski. And as you saw him trying to ease off the brake to get control, but he'd already run out of racetrack.
Well, Dick did a great job there on the inside, Gary.
Certainly did. Mark Scaife, by the way, started, as we've mentioned already, from the rear or 21st position on the grid, now up to 12th spot.
We're following Dickie Johnson, the Shell Sierra, sitting in there in about 8th spot at the moment. 2nd and 3rd getting a little tighter now as John Bowe of Tasmania in the second Dick Johnson car. The 18 machine still leads Tony Longhurst beneath the Dunlop Bridge and down to the left-hander at Hungary Corner.
Tony Longhurst may have calculated, and good on them for doing it, if they have, that he can afford the luxury of only coming second. Having won the first heat this morning, he could come second in this heat, and Jim Richards' win wouldn't equate to an overall victory. So he may be prepared to let Jim Richards go off into the sunset, which not exactly the sunset, but he's definitely 4 or 5 car lengths in front. And Tony still struggling in 3rd spot here, has to dispose of John Bowe before he can feel extremely comfortable.
We mentioned Mark Scaife started out of position number 22. He's now up to 11th. He is the Storm Norman of the field as we pick up on Johnson moving up on the tail of the lone mobile Commodore here this weekend. I pointed out in the earlier heat today They had been running 2 cars, one for Peter Brock and one for Neil Crompton. And the second car was withdrawn because of not enough spares to go racing, which is indeed a pity.
You can't get much closer than that, Mike, and Dick a little bit having to hang on there and back off. It's very hard when you're accelerating through various corners to have the car in front of you back off a little bit, and there he's throwing himself around. He's going to try and sneak by here on the inside, hope that Peter will slide to the left, not taking any chances. Bruggy's not throwing the Commodore around today. He may be a little bit tippy-toeing on his own tires, but Dick thrashing there now, using every little bit of the track and onto the slipstream here. Not particularly nice place to have to do it, but good on you, mate. Nailed him.
Good pass, too.
Very good pass. And now we'll take advantage of brakes, and Bruggy looming up for another go, but he'll lose his momentum through the chicane here.
That's taken him up to 7th. Dick Johnson, who started well back in the pack, now up to 7th. So he's done well. He's passed 10 on the way through so far. Johnson, a very strong mover. So too Mark Scaife, who's gone from 22 to 11. The exit to Hungary Corner, and getting away just a little bit from Peter Brock and Thomas Mazera. Now I would imagine as we get to about half distance in this race, the tyres on the John Bow car will be tending to go away, and then Tony will come into his own. I think you can expect a pass from Tony, perhaps at, as we've seen at Hungary Corner, down through the inside or maybe the outside, depends how he sets himself up. But for the last couple of races, all Tony has seen is the back of the 18 car. He fixed that at Winton. We're working lap 10 of 28, Lakeside, heat number 2 today of round 5, and get set as Longhurst drills right in, sits in the slipstream, works to the outside. Watch him tuck back on the inside if he can do it. There is enough room, but there just wasn't at the tail end of the entrance to the corner, so one more lap will have to go by. And to be fair, Alan, it doesn't look like Richards is in fact running all that far away from John Bow. Bow may well be holding Longhurst up marginally. Richards is just up there in front of him.
Yeah, it's just about holding station, but Tony is starting to get a little agitated. You can see that wiggle, that wind up when he was going up under the bridge on the last lap. And he's got himself really strung. He's trying to wind it, trying to stay in that slipstream. Not gaining a lot of ground here, although he may just try. One of the moves he had earlier was getting up alongside cars in this part of the circuit. And now again, getting closer and closer. He almost has to be on the bumper bar, but this is a savage part of the circuit. Very, very hard to control the car, and he's letting John Bow know he's there. But Bow has shown us over the last 2 heats that he's no mean driver. He keeps his shell Sierra pointed, drives it extremely well, and Longhurst has got to find a way around.
JB's a great little driver, so too Tony. He's really a tiger in this. Brings out the best in Tony, make no doubt about that. He sits in the draft again. Gets a free ride down the front straight across the stripe as Bow heads off into the left-hander. Here comes Tony under brakes. He just picks him up like you couldn't believe at the end of the straight, and then just gives him...
He's actually waiting for John to miss a gear change there, Mike. If he's just on his back bumper bar and John was to make the slightest mistake, he'll capitalize it. Now, he's closer now. Gary, you see how that he's twitching. The car is wound up. He's got maximum lateral force.
Oh, he has another look, and he really is determined, but again, hasn't quite got the speed to do it. Bow's got him covered.
I reckon Tony would be better off sending Bowie up for a pass on the inside if he could get him at the end of the front straight, because I'm sure John's convinced, whenever he protects the entrance to Hungary, he's got Tony under control.
And Jim Richards just ahead of them now, starting to overhaul some of the slower traffic. So this is going to make it interesting for Bow and Longhurst as they get mixed up with these other cars.
Yeah, Richards is starting to disappear now. So he gained another car length or maybe 2 over in the last 2 laps.
Oh,
Here's
look at
Wilmington.
this. This is beautiful.
Got him.
Down the inside.
Snooker.
Bad play, snooker, Gary. Exactly. Not even in off. That was a beautiful snooker. And Tony found John Bow asleep at the wheel. Should have seen that on the horizon.
And now he's got Alan Jones all over him.
Yeah. Yeah, great little passing move there from Tony Longhurst. I tell you, poor old JB will hang his head in shame in the transporter later. Here comes Paul Morris through on the inside. He's driving a splendid race. The third of the B&H BMWs. As now AJ moves up on the tail of Johnny Bow.
Now that was a very nice ace. Tony was right on the ball there and close enough to take advantage.
Let's check them out for you on the Shell race score. Jimmy Richards, the race leader, marginally over Tony Longhurst. He's getting closer all the time. Johnny Bow is in third. Alan Jones is on his bumper, and Paul Morris is closing. We've got a heck of a race here. Don't go away. Commentary continues. Back at Lakeside Raceway, we've reached half distance in round number 5, heat 2 of the Shell Series this afternoon. John Bow, who you saw before we went to the break, with Tony Longhurst nipping down the inside of him, or the outside as it was at the end of the front straight. Now Alan Jones has closed all over JB, and Paul Morris, his teammate, has joined on the freight train for one heck of a ride for the last half of this race. Now, where is Jones going to try and put the pressure on JB? He has time to have a little check out of things in the mirror. Dust everywhere here at Lakeside, and that is Jimmy Richards in car number 1, who appeared to have a brake lock up. He went off the circuit on the approach to the carousel. Now Richards is trying to claw his way back. Tony Longhurst has taken off like Tony the Tiger. He's put space between himself and the rest of the field so far after Richards. Let's have a look at the replay. We take the Nissan race cam out the back of Jimmy Richards' car, and he got the tail out.
Got wide on the exit of the right-hander and just rode it out, and great driver that he is, he didn't hit that wall. Anybody else would have spearheaded themselves right into the bank, but he saved it. But naturally, Tony slipped by.
That was one heck of a save, because lap 19 of 28 here at Lakeside, we saw in the first race this morning Thomas Mazzera get the tail into the dust on the kink, and it was at the first lap of the race, but I'd say Jim was going through there at about 240k, and it brought the front of the car around. He did one heck of a job bringing that back under control.
Well, here's another big challenge, and John Bow is withstanding it from Alan Jones in the battle for 3rd and 4th positions at the present time. They've been able to close up considerably on Jimmy Richards as a result of the incident that Jim had. So the top 4 now running within about 4 or 5 seconds of each other. And Jim Richards trying to claw his way back on Tony Longhurst, race leader. Longhurst, of course, winner of the opening heat and looking to take out the points here in the 5th round of the championship.
Glenn Seaton just went past the start-finishing line. His engine sounding very much off song. 6th spot on the track at the moment. Now that could well have been the rev limiter, but it did really sound off as it came past. He's up to 6th, not having the best of weekends. I think maybe that weight penalty may be hurting Glenn. At the same time, I think Dickie Johnson has probably run his cars a little heavier than most, so whether or not he's had to actually add 50 or more like 20.
They've added some. I don't know the precise amount, but they are carrying lead in the back seat, so they've had to go up to meet the 1,200 kilo limit.
Down into the carousel, here's Dick Johnson carrying our Dunlop race cam. Just behind him is Glenn Seaton. We'll spin it around and have a look what Dick's doing.
And just ahead of him, Kevin Waldock.
Kevin locked up one on the way in by the look of it. Meanwhile, AJ works over John Bow. Jones looking for a 3rd spot on the rostrum here today. Now, he pokes the nose down on the inside. Oh, it sends him on his way.
I was waiting for that. Tony wasn't doing that. He'd earned his first 5,000 last round at Winton.
Ah, dearie me.
That was a little cheeky on Alan's part, but
it was just a touch. Let's have a look. Here he comes down on the inside. That was enough to set him on his way.
Alan corrected and made sure he was fine, and the full force of the BMW got John Bow on the back quarter panel, and that was it. Paul Morris certainly letting the world know that he can handle the job, doing a very nice job there, shadowing Alan Jones.
Coming down to Hungary corner. I dare say that Paul might just drop in and play rear gunner to look after AJ.
He'll be getting half asphyxiated there with all that smoke that's blowing off Jones's tires.
Jones comes down, puts one more lap on the Commodore. As we take the Dunlop race cam, as Mark Scaife is trying to tear through the field. Dick Johnson is in 6th spot. This is the battle for 6th and 7th as they come down Motorcraft Hill. You might be able to see the speed difference now of the Sierra, and of course the Nissan GTR up to the kink. Not too much between them as they head down to the right-hander at the carousel. 2 laps to go. What has been an entertaining 2 heats today, and here's Mark Scaife all over Johnson.
See, absolutely lunging there through the carousel and up alongside the back guard. Said to be a little bit careful there passing traffic, but you can see the control at which he can go from one side of the track to the other and shadow Dick Johnson's every move here.
He's thinking about the inside, then the outside. He's all over Johnson here. He comes up the outside. They've got 1 lap to go. Our Dunlop race cam tells the story.
Can't get any closer than that. He must be touching the bumper bar.
He's got Dick's come off the corner wide. He's left the gap open. He needs to get across to the inside, which he does. And they continue their battle as they come across the line. We go outside for this view of it. Dick going to the outside, trying to get the line for the next turn. The left-hander at the kink. He gets that perfect as he comes through here. Scaife right behind him. Meanwhile, our race leader's got about half a lap remaining. Tony Longhurst. The exit to the carousel. And once again, Scaife up. Feints a little look on the outside, tries to come back. In the meantime, Alan Jones, and here is Tony Longhurst. Last corner coming up. The Dream Team, the Benson and Hedges squad, coming out of the last corner, and it has been a fantastic day for Tony Longhurst. 2 heats, and he's come up a winner twice here today at Lakeside. 2nd spot is going to go to Jimmy Richards in the Winfield Nissan GTR, and 3rd will go to Alan Jones in the 2nd of the Benson and Hedges BMWs. Let's check them out for you on our Shell race score. Well done, Tony Longhurst, a winner here today. Jimmy Richards places 2nd, Alan Jones 3rd, Paul Morris 4th, and 5th was Johnny Bow.
Well, back here at Lakeside, no doubt about the big winner today. Tony Longhurst, winner of both heats, round 5 of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship. And what are the Nissans? Well, Jim Richards, a brave fight from Mark Scaife, I must say, in the first round. Yourself in the 2nd heat. And I'm not criticising your diet, but maybe you're a little overweight.
We are a little overweight, but unfortunately it's not the driver.
Listen, you've got yourself in a little tangle here on the kink.
Yes, we sort of take the kink flat out now. With the extra weight, it just bounced the car too far off the circuit and I ended up on the grass. So I had to sort of put the brakes on the grass, which wasn't too good.
Well, we're certainly getting plenty of close racing.
Yes, we are.
Tony Longhurst, congratulations, BMWs today. Yourself in particular put up a phenomenal performance.
Yeah, I was pretty pleased when my mate that doesn't make too many mistakes slipped off. I think he would have been a hard guy to pass. I believe the rules are very close now, and I'm just so pleased to be up there again.
Close racing, hard racing, but a good result for you.
Very, very hard for me. Getting past John Bow's no easy task, and Jimmy would have been just as difficult.
Manager of Motorsport for Shell Australia, Tom Smith, with the sash for Tony Longhurst.
On behalf of Shell, Tony, congratulations. You love this track and magnificent race, both heats.
Thank you, Tom. It is my favourite track, and Yokohama, Benson Hedges, Castrol, thanks very much for their support this year.